How did I catch my guest in a lie when they sent me this photo of a dead bug allegedly in one of my Airbnbs? I host hundreds of guests a year, and here's how I proved that photo was fake and got that guest an official warning from Airbnb. In this video, I'm going to break down the 8-step system every host needs to protect themselves from scams like this. And if you're a guest, stick around because I'm going to show you how to protect yourself from hosts who aren't so great. This list is broken into 2 parts, preventative and reactive. The first step is a little bit obvious, but it is going to cost you some money, and that is to get quarterly pest control. This is especially necessary if you host pets, but it also provides you some documentation that you can provide to Airbnb in case there are ever any claims of bugs in your units. The second of 8 steps is to get time-stamped photos from your cleaner after every single turn. Not just a single photo, but every single room, and get details of things like the stove, the bed, the shower. Any area where the guest is using frequently, you want to get plenty of photos of that. And the timestamps are important because it's usually the only kind of photo evidence that Airbnb will accept. And if your cleaner uses an iPhone, that doesn't automatically produce timestamps on the photos. When you open up the photo app and you pull up on the photo, it will show you the timestamp. So have your cleaner send you a screenshot of that. Here's why the timestamp photos mattered in my case. The cleaning was done an hour before the guest checked in, and the guest checked in pretty much on time. They said they didn't notice the dead cockroach at first, but only after they returned at night, and I'm going to tell you why that part is important in a second. The third of 8 steps is having a security camera at the entryway. Of course, facing outward, but this also provides you time-stamped evidence of when the guest entered and left. Now here's why that really mattered in my case. The guest said that they didn't notice the dead bug until they returned to the home late at night, but my security footage showed that they only entered when they checked in and they never left until the next morning, making their timeline completely impossible. Which also leads me to the 4th step, which is having a smart lock. The great thing about smart locks is that they also timestamp when the lock is unlocked and locked. And that mattered in my case because it backed up the timestamps of the security footage. They only entered once when they checked in and they never left until the next day. So I had 2 pieces of proof that completely refuted the guest's claim. Those are the 4 preventative steps that you need to take for every single stay. Now let's get into the reactive steps in case anything should happen. The first of these is to ask for photographic evidence from the guest. And then you have to verify that it is authentic. In my case, the guest sent not 1, but 2 different photos of dead bugs. And the interesting thing about the photos was that they didn't show any identifiable traits of my home. So it didn't even look like they were taken there. I did a reverse search on Google Lens and I found one of the photos on a 4-year-old Reddit post. So clearly it wasn't taken by the guest. The other photo was also a screenshot, and I was able to provide this metadata as well as the Reddit post to Airbnb. Okay, so the 6th step is really important. When a guest is alerting you of an issue, and whether they're telling the truth or not, it is incredibly important that you stay neutral and friendly because you don't want to give any fuel to the fire. You don't want to give the guest any additional opportunity to complain or additional reason to give you a bad review. That's why I like to use Hospitable because it has AI responses built into the system. I can hit a button and an AI will generate a response to the guest. So I make sure that it stays friendly, it stays factual, and it takes all of the emotion out of it. I also rely on AI to respond to Airbnb. I just type into ChatGPT what it is I want to say, and it will spit out a response that, again, is nice and neutral. Because AI customer service agents are humans just like you and me, and they're going to be far more likely to help you when you're staying pleasant on the phone and you're not overly emotionally charged. Now that leads me into the 7th point on this list. Whenever you think that a guest is scamming you, you'll want to alert Airbnb proactively. And there's a few reasons why you want to do this. The first is that you want to control the narrative, again, with facts and neutrality. But you don't know what the Airbnb guest is saying to Airbnb. And you want to make sure that you are getting your facts and your story to them promptly. And what I specifically recommend here is that you take all of the information from the guest, as well as any of the data that you have verified, and ask a service like ChatGPT if the guest has violated any of Airbnb's terms of service. And then you simply copy and paste their terms of service into the chatbot and see what it spits out. And in my case, the guest was in clear violation of some conduct policies that they have, which is why I felt justified in asking for Airbnb to reflect this on that guest's account. Okay, so you've done all of this. quarterly pest control, timestamp photos of every clean security camera, smart lock. You've collected and verified any evidence from the guest. You've responded kindly using AI to help you stay nice and neutral, and you've spoken with Airbnb, especially if the guest has violated any terms of service. Here's the most important thing. If a guest has truly scammed you and has violated Airbnb's terms of service, I believe that it is incumbent upon you as a host to make sure that you document this in a review, but in a neutral and polite way. So I don't slam my guests in a review, but I do say, honestly, if there are any issues, because I, as a host, would want to know if any guest has booked my place, if they've had a negative experience in the past, because then that gives me the opportunity to determine if that guest is the right fit to stay in one of my places. And again, I use AI to help write this up so that it stays nice and neutral, and that I don't come off sounding like I'm complaining or that I'm trying to make the guest look bad. And the important thing here is I wait until the very last minute to publish the review of a guest who's had an experience like this in my home. And the reason why I do that is because if you have reviewed the guest and the guest hasn't reviewed you yet as a host, Airbnb will keep sending reminders to them to submit their review. And you have no idea what they're going to write in the review. They could write something about the bugs or any other major issue that they allegedly encountered in your home. And then you have a whole other situation where you're having to refute that review and try to get it removed, which in my case wouldn't have been terrible because I would have used all of the same evidence, but I wanted to avoid that situation entirely, so I didn't review until the very last minute. And thankfully in Hospitable, there's an option where I can delay the review until the very last second. You have 14 days. Now, I've shared how you can protect yourself as a host, but what if you're a guest? You arrive at an Airbnb stay and it is not in the condition that was promised to you, or you just otherwise do not have a good experience. The biggest piece of advice I have is to document the condition of the home as soon as you arrive. Take photos, take video, and of course make sure that they are time-stamped. And if the issue is major enough, contact Airbnb and use the steps that I listed here. Provide the documentation, use AI to write your response, and always stay neutral and polite. A situation like this could happen to any host or guest, so that's why you want to protect yourself. For more behind-the-scenes videos on running an Airbnb business, check out this next video here. Thank you so much for watching. Bye-bye.